This is one of my favorites for sure. Ben and Matt, two great guys that I've grown to know and respect so much. And Garmann and Miller, a great company. This discussion represents, and this company represents so many successful businesses and the leadership from our area and the reason for so much success, in my opinion. They helped grow from just a couple of people to 6 offices in several states. How they do it, we talked through the leadership style, the leadership approach that is required, how they align work and life for all of their employees, and the one team member that all of their employees meet with and every company should have, but most of us do not have. Absolutely incredible what they're doing. And if you're wondering whether you can go after it, if you can start a business, if you can grow your business, if you can take it to the next level or something else to the next phase, these guys will give you the conviction, the leadership, the knowledge, and the know-how to do just that. Hello and welcome to the Purpose Matrix. I am very excited for today's guests, plural, Ben Miller and Matt Hibner. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, doing great.
Well, I'm super appreciative of you guys. We're in person here, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see these beautiful gentlemen here. Ben and Matt, both principals at Garmann and Miller, if you're familiar with the company, founded and primarily located in Minster, Ohio. But as we were talking, we had to count through the locations, over 6 locations, and they're doing business in Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, really have grown a lot over the years. And we're going to talk about the opportunities with that and the challenges with that and how we manage culture and other things and the key to leadership as you're growing a company. Voted best firms to work for, and some awesome but simple values: dependable, humble, and thorough. So I'm really excited. Not only do I get to interview these guys, I've gotten to know these guys through different forums. We host a quarterly business leader luncheon that they participated in and really brought a lot of value to a lot of different business owners in that capacity too. So again, thanks guys for coming on. Ben, why don't we start with you and just tell us a little bit of the backstory of Garmann and Miller at a high level and really some of the big shifts that the company has made over the years to get to where it is today.
Sure. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey. Actually, the business was founded in 1993, and my dad was one of the founders of the company with Brad Garmann. Bruce Miller was my father. And they just saw an opportunity to serve our clients in a different way. It was focused on servitude and doing what's right and really doing quality work. And so they kind of stepped out of their existing firm and started the business in Minster back in 1993. And at that time, they were just a 2-man show focused on architecture only. And they were taking on about any type of project you can imagine. It was community, business owners, churches, any type of business that makes the community tick. And as they built up their resume, they started taking on additional services. We started engineering in the early 2000s. That's where Eric Baltzeller, current CEO, and Chris Monin, our COO, stepped in to the business, and we added that engineering arm. And from there, our company grew into what we're known as today, our K-12. That's our bread and butter. We're really good at doing education projects. We're doing the addition right now to Marion local.
A big project. I'll say that, so I'm on our school board, and the experience that not just I've had, but the school, the facility, the leadership team at the school has had with Garmann and Miller, the whole team, just professional and just do things well in the right way. And I want to come back to something because I told these guys, we had some topics and I'm going to go off right away. So they're not ready for this, but you said they started with the founders saw an opportunity based on service. What was the second? Service. And I think you said just doing things the right way.
Doing what's right. That's so simple.
And I think so many businesses in our area, and then you also said they just hustle. They just figure it out as we go. There is so much opportunity, I think, for any business in any industry. If you do those things, if you just serve your customer and do things the right way, not the most profitable way right now, but the right way, long term, it works out. What would you say to someone that's maybe even exploring or thinking about entrepreneurship? This is a completely off topic. These guys are not prepared. I love it. But how much of it is just that? Like we're going to talk strategies and leadership and culture and resources and other things that we plan for. But geez, if you just hustle, if you just do things right and you just serve your customers, it seems to work out pretty well.
Absolutely. I think that's 100% what it is. It's just about being being with people and helping them in their need wherever they're at, just being a part of that, being responsive. I think that's one thing that we really look at and we really push with our team is just to be responsive. And we don't want people waiting, for days on end without communication. So just kind of, taking that mindset of whatever it takes, to communicate, proactive communication, those were all just critical pieces.
One thing on your website too, it says, I forget the exact terms, but there's hearing and listening. And by the way, it sounds like something we would tell our kids too, right? So we all either do well with that or struggle with that. And you can decide who that is in this room. By the way, Matt and we both have 5 kids. They're all within a couple months of each other and the same gender too. So you can go wherever you want with that. But listening engagement, I think, is so important because I think as business owners and problem solvers, a lot of times we're trying to say, hey, we can do this or we can do that. And it can be challenging to just be engaged, listen, take the information and dissect it, and then come up with the solutions. And I really appreciated that about your website, just pointing that out. Like it was up there in front and center.
Yeah, I mean, listening with intention, is part of our values, and we want to make sure that's clear because listening without really that intention, I mean, you're hearing it, but we want really that depth and understanding what the pain points are, what impacts we can potentially make based on that. So it is a critical piece of our DNA.
Well, look, you've gotten what you need to out of this discussion already. Just servitude, serve your customer, do things the right way. If you take that away from it, you'll do well. But throughout the years, you guys have grown a lot, and you talked about the different services, but I want to talk about that growth, and especially not just growth within a single location, but different locations that inevitably have different cultures, different core values of the area that are embedded in the areas, not good or bad, just different. How do you, as you grow, what have been some of the biggest obstacles and how have you adapted to that?
Yeah, I'll start it out. So I think our first location we looked at was Columbus, and I think everyone's familiar with Columbus, and it's a big city, growing, probably one of the fastest growing cities in the nation right now. And when we opened that office, I think our expectations as leadership was, it's going to just be the same as Minster, Ohio. People are going to show up to work. They're going to work hard. They're going to work long hours. And the reality is that's not the culture of Columbus. And so we found that some of our staff wanted to come in at 9 and work till 6. And to be frank, that was kind of hard to understand. They want to bring their pets to work. They want to have a little bit more flexibility than I think what this area has brought and allowed, I guess, in the past. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just one of those things that you have to be adaptable and flexible to the change of that. That's their world, and that's what makes them tick. And if you allow that, they're going to show up and do good work. If you try to put boundaries on that as, no, you got to show up at 8, you can't be here at 9, and you have to work till 5, I think you start to see pushback and people want to actually jump ship. So I think it took, years until we found maybe flexibility in work hours and how we approach things needs to shift differently than what Columbus is operating, but we still hold them to those core values that we mentioned. You can't be in our business and you can't be humble.
Right.
And you can't be thorough and dependable. So you have to maintain those qualities, but just on a different timeline.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask the question is how do you manage the, I'll say, where are you flexible and where are you firm, right? And I think core values and establishing what those are, because there's not flexibility around those. Correct. There cannot be. So if you're trying to grow a company and adding a location where that second location is in, Salina, Columbus, or even further away, there can be different policies, but not different values and expectations for not just results, but how you act every single day. And I think that's what you took ownership of is, okay, we have to adapt, but where are we willing to adapt and where are we not willing to adapt? How did that, you said years, but how have those different locations adapted to the changes you've put in place for those locations?
Well, yeah. And I think one thing kind of want to hit too with being flexible, we want in person or like in the office versus out,
Mhm.
we have that flexibility. We offer 2 days. Now, if somebody has meetings with a client or, something important, well, they've got to be able to deviate. They've got to be flexible as well. But the key there is this trust with everything that we're offering, and making sure, like, it kind of comes back to when we bring somebody in and a team in, we want to make sure that, they are kind of fitting the ideal team player that we really constitute in that hiring process, which is critical.
Yeah. How much has I off tangent, so sorry. You need leadership in those locations. I mean, how has that process gone to identify who those folks have been in those locations, whether they were people that were there or that you've brought in? I mean, how have you developed leadership at those remote locations? And I think this is a good topic, not because it only applies to the business owner that's trying to at a location. It's more, how do you develop leadership, right? And I think it gets a little bit hard. You got to do that in Minster, but you also got to do it elsewhere. What's your guys' approach to that, especially in those areas?
Yeah. Columbus, we found a person, and then we opened our office in Ted Miselowitz, right? And so we found a key architect who had 30 or 20 years of experience, who could run that office that we knew. He actually graduated with one of our employees from Minster from college. And so that trust in that individual was already kind of established from credibility, being in the profession, and because we personally knew him. And so that leap was easier to take when you had somebody lined up with that type of credentials.
It's amazing when you have trust with someone trust is built. I was taught this by someone else, but trust is built on character, competence, their knowledge of it, and then connection, your ability to just connect and relate with the person. And you identified a person that you had those core elements of trust with, and you build around that person.
Correct.
That you trust, and someone that had the competence, the knowledge, and I think the leadership to help you grow there.
Yeah, and then we had our team in Columbus had Taylor Luth. She's actually from St. Henry, who was living with her husband in Columbus and working well on that team. And she was there as that office was operating. And we decided, hey, let's try to open an office in Fort Wayne. And at the time, we said to our whole staff, there's an opportunity to run this new office we're going to open in Fort Wayne. Is anyone interested? And she raised her hand. And her husband, who just newly got married, decided to move from Columbus to Fort Wayne to run that office.
Yeah.
So now we have an established pair of architects that are from this area that want to run that office for us.
What I think is amazing about this is you're not saying, just to be clear, that people from our area aren't great people. There is a lot of great people in Columbus, but there's something about people that grew up in our area that there's a level of almost inherent trust on their character, work ethic, core values from the area. Again, that doesn't mean everyone from our area is great people, but there's a high percentage of them. It also doesn't mean there are bad people in Columbus. Different values sometimes, but really the challenge for your company has been finding the best people, not just from our area that moved to Columbus or wherever it might be, but how do you find those great people in Columbus that you can build around too? I think it's interesting. So if you're in Columbus, you're listening, we're not saying you're a bad person. We're just saying these guys are working hard to find people like you because you are a good person, but there might be more work to that maybe.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, I think to kind of build on what Ben was talking about, we were fortunate enough to have a senior landscape architect that had come to us from Columbus during the recession, worked in Minster for several years, got ingrained in the culture, kind of
in your company culture.
In Minster's, company culture, the firm culture. But then when her kids graduated, she wanted to move back to the Columbus area. And so she was a key part of kind of bringing that culture to that new and emerging, office for us.
Well, I think the theme here too is culture matters. I mean, culture of a company is absolutely critical as you grow. And the more you have core values in place, not that you write on a wall, but that you live every single day and hold people accountable, those things can't be flexible. So that's the major message. Through the years, you've grown a lot, but you've also had to figure things out a lot. And you have different principles that you can talk to in your board meetings on a regular basis, but you've also gone to some outside resources that are right here, extremely unique in our area that you've been able to go to. Tell us about the partnerships and how you guys have worked together, because there might be people thinking, I want to start this business on my own, or I have this business on my own. I'm afraid to bring in partners, but I'm kind of lonely and, the person doing it all myself. But also for those people that are on their own, there's other resources in there you've gone to. So tell us more about how you've leverage those different partnerships and resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think, first to start out, like I feel blessed as a partner in Garmann Miller that we have, shareholders and leaders that we can just benefit from, having conversations, different trains of thought, different philosophies that ultimately kind of help us to move ahead. Um, you know, I also believe like the benefits of getting connected with, the business leadership luncheons that you put together. Aileron, is another great resource. They've helped us. I mean, we started going there, I think probably back in 2014, 2015.
I mean, an incredible resource in Tip City that
Yeah.
Was founded by Clay Mateel, and it's a beautiful campus, but just not just the coaching and consulting they can provide, but the network of business owners and leadership that they can help, I think is extremely unique, and we're pretty fortunate to have it close to home here.
Absolutely. And that is something, with that connection and just some of our initial connections with Choice One Engineering, Tony Schrader there, Jeff Putoff, they really helped kind of kickstart that momentum of like leaning on other professionals so you don't have to do it all yourself. There's examples in your life that you go through, whether that's personal or professional, that you can learn from those individuals. And so just a great testament to just that collaboration of, hearing from other professionals and what they're going through, and then being able to apply that in your own life or in your own business.
And I'll say two things first. One of my core messages that I'm communicating is no matter what area of life, business, profession, career, faith, family, finance, fitness, whatever it might be, find the 4 people you need. That can be people from Aileron, that can be different businesses in your industry. I think a lot of times we're fearful of competition or other things. You need to have an abundance mindset around those things. We're gonna feed those businesses and help those businesses, but they're gonna help us. And the level of everybody just elevates so much because person A is so good at in this area of life or this business strategy. Person B is great at a different area of life or a different business strategy. And the compound effect of those 4 people can be astounding. So if you don't have that, find that. I'll also say that we are partnering with Aileron to come in and do a business leader breakfast the last Friday in September. So if that's something you're interested in, you're a business leader, please reach out, info@moellerre.com, and we can get you on that list. But I want to come back to these guys and just weigh in more on, that partnership and growth and the obstacles and just how you guys approach challenges amongst yourself and get to a resolution. Is that pretty seamless? Is there conflicts? Just talk us through that a little bit, if you will. You guys are like, oh, what do I say and what do I not say?
Well, I can start here, and Ben, feel free to jump in. I mean, overall, we've been, fortunately blessed in a lot of like the big decisions, from a business standpoint. I think we've generally been aligned. We have run into, situations where, it's there are differences of opinion, and you have to kind of weigh those things and ultimately come to a resolution and making a decision. We have had a few of those, but at the end of the day, as a board of directors, and we are unified in that message, whether that's a 3-2 vote or a 5-0 vote, and
I want to be in the 3-2 discussions. I want to hear how those go, and I want to like who's gonna be the swing vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is really just having that honest dialogue, making sure like you're vetting it out. You're trying to keep emotion out of that, which, it's sometimes hard to do.
Yep.
But again, overall, like we've been able to really navigate that well. And we've got a great leadership team that values and respects, what the differences of opinion can be.
Ben, would you agree with that? Look, I'm putting,
no, I think he's right. I think it comes back to that core value, doing what's right. I think that's an easy thing to say, but to live it, it's a whole nother thing. So our decisions are based on what's right for the company and what's right for the team in general, not what's right for us as owners. You know, we're not looking out for decisions that are going to make us rich or decisions that are going to make us look better. We're looking out for our team. So I think what makes our leadership team unique is we're focused on holistically what's the best decision when we take into account our team members, our clients, our partners, or, just in general. So I think that's what holds us kind of in boundaries and when we make decisions, and we're not driven off of greed or, some of power or whatever else. We're not power seeking individuals. That humility kicks in, I think. Servant leadership.
I think having humility there as a core value is so critical. Craig Rochelle has a leadership podcast. Listen to mine first always, but he talks about do the hard right thing. And actually, as a company here, we watched. He has a 20-minute video, but it's always pick the hard right thing, and that doesn't mean the thing that makes you the most money or not even the outcome you get. It's do the right thing. And if you do that in the short term, long term, those other things will work out for itself, right? But do the hard right thing. And it sounds like you guys are aligned on, hey, we might not like this decision. This might not be the best thing for me or whatever it might be, but this is the right thing for our employees, for our customers. And when you have the mindset to serve your team and your customers, things are going to work out well long term. One of the things that, I can relate to, and I think from talking with other business owners that they can relate to, and not just business owners, but leaders in any company, is the risk of burnout and stress, maybe being lonely at the top if they're running a team that, who do I go talk to for this? And I guess, have you guys, tell me more about if you deal with that, and then what's the support system been? Is that the partnership group, or tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can speak on that. I think, I have run into that before where, just putting a lot of hours in, trying to meet the expectations of what we believe and what we value as a company. There's times when hours can get long and everything, but just having the transparency and honesty in those discussions, to raise your hand and say, look, guys, I need a little help here. I need a little break. Something's maybe being compromised, from life, a balance in life. So I think we've all kind of maybe hit those points at various times and kind of had to raise our hand. But I think that accountability and honesty is critical in those discussions. And so just kind of working through that, seeing what we can do, whether it be staffing or other people that can step in and hopefully help. There's sometimes where we just got to barrel through, but we definitely support one another.
How do you? So first of all, I think in any relationship, if you find the 4 people you need, the key to that, to building those relationships, I think, is transparency and authenticity. Because I think in society, especially in business, we can put a wall up, and we don't want to talk about, hey, we're struggling with this personal item or that personal item, and obviously understand the different relationship, and if that's a personal relationship or a professional relationship, but we can put a wall up so much. And I think as you build relationships with partners over time, I'm sure you get more and more open and talk about different things. And maybe there's even a partner that you go to for certain things versus the others. Actually, the one thing that you guys have, another thing you guys work with, I saw him speak at an event, but Dr. Aaron Kuhn, I think, with the company. Yes. Tell us more about that relationship. And why you've created that for your company.
Yeah. So I think, bringing Dr. Aaron Kuhn in has been extremely helpful to our team. That's really a close friendship that he and Eric Baltzell, our CEO, had. They graduated a couple years apart at Parkway, have just remained friends, lifelong friends. And as he kind of built his career in counseling, there was just some opportunities where, as we're kind of treading through this, new transition, we're taking leadership. It's like, man, we got a great opportunity here and a great resource to be able to really lean on in a lot of these, discussions and everything. And so I'm trying to remember from a policy standpoint, we did put, a new policy in probably 4 or 5 years ago that, if anybody within our firm needs some, mental health or, spiritual counseling, they are welcome to use Dr. Kuhn or frankly, anybody, just to value that component and how important that is to come along and support our team members.
Yeah, I think it's the policy is 5 sessions throughout the year, and it's actually for the individual, their spouse, or any of their children.
So I want to make sure I understand that, because that is talk about an investment in people. I want you to expand on that, Ben, but I'll just say that for business owners and leaders, the role is big. The call is big. You can handle it, but it's big. And it goes way beyond, I have chills thinking about this, but it goes so much more beyond the bottom line and the dollars that you make as a company, or even what you pay employees. All of that is great, but to have an offering to your employees where you are looking out for them with, I assume, completely anonymous, like the option to have an anonymous counselor. And by the way, I also think a lot of people think counseling and coaching, call it whatever you want, is such a bad thing. But to offer that and really normalize having those conversations is, Aileron supports that, Tony, like they've done that, I think. But to do that is very unique. Ben, just tell me more about that. But I'll just say, if you can start to impact your employees beyond professionally, it's not a strategy, it's doing the right thing. But wow, what an impact you can have in the engagement and retention and the impact on the culture. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I think it's just taking a step back and look at the whole picture. I mean, if your employees have a good at-home life, they come to work more productive and more engaged and better attitudes, right? So everybody's got life thrown at them every stage. So, it could be someone marriage counseling. It could be a parenting challenge. It could be, you're fighting with your father or mother or a grandparent passing away or, health issues. You don't know what life's going to throw at you. So every year, you could use it one year for yourself, next year for your spouse, the next year for your child, and I think if that at-home life can get built up, the investment you made in that is going to return itself tenfold at the business.
I think there's a work-life balance. I don't like that term, and I'm going to like work-life alignment and recognizing the alignment and the like humans are humans, and how their day is at work is going to carry over to how they parent at home. And how they get up in the morning and have a routine is going to carry over to how they show up at work. And it is so, so critical. So if you have a foundational habit or something that gets your day off right, if you have a great day with a support system at work, like the impact, and I've had situations in my prior corporate world where there's been toxic leadership that has had an extremely negative impact on people at home. And we had to make changes on that. But to shift that, if you have a resource like Dr. Kuhn that you guys have and offer that to your employees, it's just so important for leaders to recognize that you are impacting your team, your customers, your vendors beyond 8 to 5, as you say it. So again, another thing we weren't planning on talking about, but I think you guys are getting it so right that you're helping employees become the best version of themselves holistically, not just professionally. And when they see that, the engagement you get, retention, best place to work, those things are going to happen, not because it's a strategy, because it's the right thing. I love that so much.
Yeah, I think one other thing that Dr. Kuhn that I've noticed impact is our offices. We're a group of very technical people. Architects, engineers, highly degreed.
I can empathize with you on that, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. So, technical people are very good at what they do, but they're not good at managerial roles. How to talk to other people and how to have productive conversations that are humanizing, I guess is the right word. And so Dr. Kuhn has ran...
Engineers are not human. That's what Ben just said.
We know your shoe colors, but that's it.
I'm recovering from engineering, so I can relate to this.
Yeah. So he's led sessions where we've done half days at the Shrine, Mary Stein Shrine. We've gone to Aileron in our office to engage and equipped our managers on how to be a better manager, how to listen, the emphasizing, motivational interviewing questions, to learn to kind of sit back and let the employee talk. And I've seen that impact in our office from a managerial standpoint grow tremendously because of his support. His techniques are amazing. As a counselor, a lot of those techniques that he uses can apply to a manager. So I think there's just other things that he's brought to our arsenal that's helped our team be better.
Well, I think to build on that, we've also done like Enneagram testing, just to understand, our team members and to be able to understand how they act and react. I think that's been helpful as well. Just to, you understand, okay, am I dealing with a 7
Are the Enneagrams
or...
all the same? I mean, so I work in the corporate world. It was a largely manufacturing and engineering firm. So there's so many darn engineers. And I say that with all due respect because I'm recovering and I still act like that. And I don't really understand these things like empathy. And I'm just like, let's just do the job and get it done. But that's why I need coaching. Trust me, I need help. And I've worked on that stuff, but I think it's so important to recognize it and have a resource like that not only helps your team find their blind spots, but also you guys. By the way, how much are you working with him directly too on like coaching, communication, leadership?
Dr. Kuhn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even personally, I go see him, just to help kind of with that reset, make sure I'm, tracking on the goals that I have, personal, professional, faith-based, et cetera. So
What would you say to a business owner that, maybe there's a business owner that just, this is honestly, maybe all these things we're talking about might be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot here.
mm-hmm.
I guess what I would say, and maybe you can reiterate it, is going to someone like Dr. Kuhn, who is well trained on this stuff, but he's really just helping you think through what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and maybe even strategy or how to approach things a little bit. But that's not, if you need help. I mean, it's okay to, we're all human. We all have our tendencies and issues and challenges. It's okay to go get that help and call it coaching. Call it business coaching if you want. If you don't want to call it counseling or therapy, call it business coaching. But the value in that, and honestly, the openness to say, hey, I use that for both business and personally. Father Cromley said, the problem isn't having problems. The problem is thinking there's a problem with having problems. We're all going to have problems and challenges, but having the resources, the 4 people you need, whoever it is, to go to, I think is so powerful.
Absolutely. Totally agree to that.
So what about long-term growth, a lot of challenges, culture, resources. I mean, some incredible resources. And I would just say, again, look for Aileron, Business Leader Lunch, Dr. Kuhn, whoever it is. Don't be afraid to seek those things. But you're growing. And, as we look forward for Garmann and Miller, you've had different offices you've added, you have had acquisitions, and there's continued challenges, but also we talked briefly, next generation succession. I mean, you guys are still young fellows, but you're not getting younger like none of us. How do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, we definitely are. We're constantly, kind of evaluating, who has the potential to take those next steps into leadership, and, how, we want. Again, we're trying to provide all those different tools along the way, the managerial discussions that we have. We try to bring more people into that mix. But yeah, it's a challenge for sure to think through how we're going to continue to grow, what markets we're potentially going to, consider and expand into, whether that be market sectors, geographic markets, all that. We are very active in our strategic planning as well. That's something that we have a very, systematic effort in how we want to walk through that and reevaluate things. So we're going through some items right now that are really helping us kind of prepare to take that next step in growth, because we have grown at I'd say a faster rate over the last 4 to 5 years. And so we kind of have to kind of reset, get our feet under us, and be able to, get ready for the next step.
Do you guys ever, growth is critical, but growth is hard. And as business leaders, I think you have to have a growth, but are you guys this is hard. Wow, we're growing too fast. Let's just slow down. Let's just stop. I mean, okay, there's some chuckles, but it is hard. And I wanted
those conversations
on the drive over. No, but it is. And it's okay for employees to recognize that. But to the business owners, business leaders, I'm working for a company that wants to grow so fast, or my company's growing, but geez, I'm just burnt out. I mean, how do you guys bring us into that conversation to the extent you're willing?
I'll turn it over to the business development director for this one.
The person responsible for all the growth that causes the headaches for Matt, right?
Well, I think one of the hardest things with growth that I've seen is we call it the missing middle. The baby boomers are retiring, and that's a massive workforce. And the millennial generation seems to have taken a step out of our industry and into other industries and hasn't come back. So as we grow and add these offices and have more opportunities, it's hard to find people in their 30s and 40s that are in our industry and stayed here. They've left, engineers have gone into manufacturing and AI and, wherever else they may take them. And it's really hard to find people that have the experience and knowledge to run projects, to run people, to run offices. And so you've got this really unique baby boomer generation that has all the knowledge leaving, a missing middle, and then a young generation that's hungry, eager, but still learning.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of not burning out that missing middle that you do have within your organization.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating to not overpower them. That's what our struggle's been, honestly.
Yeah. And I think it's like again, if you're thinking about business, or if you have a business and you're thinking about growing through acquisitions, there is a massive opportunity because there's so many baby boomers that have businesses that don't have a succession plan, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And if you're getting that age, just start to build that succession plan, if anything too soon. But also recognize, if you're aspiring entrepreneur or anything like that, there are going to be opportunities from boomers that are retiring that don't have a succession plan. So maybe go work for them for 5 years and you can work your way into ownership, buy the company out, something like that even. But it's really, it's an industry specific challenge you have, but it's also just constantly, okay, like employees need, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And there's even scripture behind this, like to continue to grow and improve. But it is a lot of work. And I just give so much credit for you guys for not just the growth you've had. I want the companies in our area, I just want them to be so successful, because when you have core values like you have for your company that come from our area and can ripple out, I think we can have a great impact as the collective business base in our area. I think it's a great vehicle to have an impact on so many people's personal lives for the exact reasons you guys talked about. So I just love what you're doing and the fact that you're doing it the right way. What is going to be the key to your company's success as you move forward, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we were just talking about. It's getting that younger staff educated and more confident to run things, step into roles. I think growth brings opportunity, and opportunity retains your staff as people are growing.
Extremely important.
They're engaged, right? So
because your growth shows the growth of the company creates opportunity that shows a growth path for people, which the organization needs. Like everyone needs to see a path for growth themselves, whether that's getting better, not just title growth, but just opportunities for growth, for increased capacity, increased roles. I think that is an important element of employee retention and engagement too.
Yeah, 100%. I think employees want to feel valued and like there's something I can change into and mold into and better myself as a human being. So I think it's always just showing them that there's a roadmap to this next step in their career. And we do a lot of things with professional development where, we get licensures with our professional degrees, supporting them with classes and books and mentors. We have a big mentorship program. And I think it's keeping that younger generation hungry. I know Matt said ideal team player before. That's one of our hungry, humble, smart. That's how we hire people in our company. And keeping that fire lit inside of each of our employees to want to better themselves, want to learn, continuous learning. That's the future of us, like our team right there.
That's amazing. What would you say, Matt? Anything to add to that? If you think about the success for Garmann and Miller for the next, decade to decades to come, what's going to be the key to that you would add to what Ben had to say?
I think it's a simple one. It's just you win with people, and you gotta align the right team. You got to make sure everybody's rowing in the same direction. So really having that in place is important.
I love the simplicity of that. This has been amazing. If you guys step back, think about the growth you've had, the success you've had as a company, as a partnership team, I'd say more importantly, the impact you guys have had on everyone you interact with, whether that be employees, customers, contractors. You guys work with a lot of different contractors and vendors that you can have leave your mark on. How's what you do? How does it make you feel? And you both have to answer this question.
I think it's extremely fulfilling. I mean, just to be able to, have an impact, a positive impact. I mean, I hope at the end of the day, everybody that I'm interacting with feels a sense of like support, that we genuinely care, we genuinely listen, like I said, with intent. That is the important piece. And it comes back to just serving people, having that servant leadership mentality.
I love it. Good luck beating that one, Ben. But you have to answer as well.
That was a good answer. Yeah, it was funny. I actually did a career fair at the elementary school in St. Henry this past month. And I was trying to describe to elementary kids what I do at work. And
did you bring candy?
Yeah, I should have brought candy, but it's hard to describe that. So I said, I was trying to think about all the things we've touched in this area that maybe they know. The Elks is putting up a new clubhouse. That was our impact.
Amazing.
The Maria Stein addition, or Marion Local's new addition to the middle school, that was us. We're building Salina new schools. We built the Romer's Hotel in St. Henry. And I just started going through all these things in this area that we've touched and made better. Do good, that whole complex. We're right in the middle of that. I think the impact on the communities around here that we're enhancing, to me, is the best thing that we're doing. I mean, we have 140 people, 140 families we're making better, but the communities that we're making better is awesome.
Well, and I think it all adds up. I mean, the communities you're impacting, the people you're impacting, the people are in those communities. And to see what you've done here and to see what will happen for the next 30 to 50 years if you guys keep leaving that dent in now Columbus and all the state, Indiana, Kentucky, all over the place, is exciting for me. Growth is hard. Scaling is hard, but I think it's very worth it. And I think the other thing we didn't talk about, but through growth and through adversity, it makes you have to be a better person and a better leader yourself. And that's why you might look up at the end of the year and say, holy smokes, that was a challenging year. We worked so hard, and you still got to prioritize and align life, but you can see your growth after that. And more importantly, it's fulfilling because you can see the growth in your team and the people and in the community. This has been fun. I'm not surprised by how much I just love this conversation because you guys are amazing guys. It's been an honor for me to get to know you guys over the last couple of years, especially working with you, attending the quarterly luncheons that we have. So I'm not surprised by how good this conversation was, but even as high as my expectations were, it exceeded it. I'm so thankful for you guys for what you're doing, the impact you're having. For the Purpose Matrix, signing off.